Welcome to the Improviding Live podcast. This is Live More Lori, your host, and we are going to be having a little chat today. And I'm just real excited to get back to the spirit of playing more with my delivery and actually asking myself, how do I want to share something, and acknowledge that there was some stuffy gooses the past few months that were just leading to maybe a little more somber of a season. But you know what? That's what we're doing. Here we are. We're going to explore how life can be more livable together. So, boom. Firstly, I just want to acknowledge that there is a certain conversation that I at times find it very difficult to have with myself. And that is the moment of realizing that I have been faking it, right? And what categories? So many, faking like I actually check my email. I don't really do that. I'm over it now, but I used to fake and pretend I could manage it. I can't. I absolutely suck at it. It's just not a skill that I even want to have. I'd rather have a carrier pigeon just deliver me news, right? I've also faked liking someone's meal because I have some disordered eating in my past. So I was raised to eat everything on my plate, right? So I would always eat something to not waste food, but then people might take that as I actually enjoyed what I was eating. May not have been the case. I've also faked it that there was that I just didn't need something at the store, and that's why I returned it, when really it's I need that $75 back, so yes, I'm returning a pack of toilet paper and a pack of dishwasher pods and a pack of paper towels, which somehow all of that is $75. So yes, I'm returning this. It's just because I bought too much. No one just accidentally buys too many extra jumbo packs of shit, right? But at the moment I was faking it because I just didn't have the capacity to say, actually, I didn't realize that there were some medical bills coming up, and I'd rather have the cash than something to wipe my ass. So all of these ways we faked it, right? But here's the thing, we've all faked it till we made it, right? And I firmly believe that there's seasons in life or certain project activities where that's it, right? I faked knowing what I was doing when I started this podcast. I had to learn all the tech behind it, right? And I'm a self-proclaimed tech dinosaur, but now self-proclaimed tech dinosaur who's hatched out of the fucking egg, right? And so we have faked it, right? So faking it has its place when that is the only capacity you have access to, when you are learning something and giving yourself grace, and that is not going to be perfect when you're trying to learn it. It's never going to be perfect, right? That doesn't have to be the goal. But that there's a spirit of when faking it is totally the valid option, right? And also, sometimes we don't ever make it past the faking it, right? We're still faking it because we've either lost sight of what making it would be. The item that's on our list that we're trying to make it towards is not actually one that we want on our list, or it might be something that society has placed on our list, and it's just impossible to fucking make it, right? So for millennials, we're being told that, by our 30s, we should be absolutely debt free, own our own home, have 2 and a quarter kids. Those kids also need to already be speaking 35 coding languages, 3 verbal languages, volunteer at a guinea pig pet hospital, right? All this shit, and yet it's just we're also gonna, like I said earlier, to replace 3 household items that an average household has to have, it's gonna be almost $100. Just all this shit, right? So in that case, we're faking that we can do something that is just societally not set up for the making it part to happen, right? So acknowledging that all those things exist, we're going to take a little peek in, right? Because there's something that can happen. It certainly happened to me, and it might have happened or is happening for you, right? It's that the fake spills out into all these categories of life. So instead of the idea of faking it till we make it being a helpful cloak that helps us sort of bear the weather of getting through something new or challenging, or that's just not quite on the horizon for us yet. And, having it be the cloak that's a seasonal thing, right? I'm getting a little chilly, let me go ahead and cloak up. Instead, faking it spills out and it becomes a full-ass body tat, right? We are now tatted from head to toe, faking it, faking being fine, faking we're okay, faking our needs are met, faking we even know what our needs are, faking we don't want to tell someone every time they talk to us that their breath is really making it hard for me to focus. And I just want to let you know, in case you're not aware, that your breath is really making it hard. Whatever it is that you're faking, right? And I just want to pause here for a second, because what happens over time when we're having our fake body tattoo on is that it gets kind of mushy and becomes an identity that we don't realize that we're yes-anding all the time, right? And what that might look like, right? So if you may need to fake less, that might look like finding yourself not prioritizing you and your own decision making. So an example of that is, like asking yourself, well, what does everyone else want for dinner? And probably not even realizing that you didn't ask, what do I want for dinner? Like, is there something that I would like to offer out as the option? And of course, there's nuance to all this because I live in an allergen household. So, like, I often, I have to accommodate my own allergy needs, daughter's allergy needs. My husband's just very refined, selective palate. Like, I get that, right? But I'm saying if I never ask myself, oh, how would I like to enjoy this meal, or what ingredient would I like to have in it? That's how I know I'm faking it. I'm faking like I am a sort of factor in my own day, that I'm a priority in my own day, or that I deserve to have a moment where my needs are at least acknowledged, right? Another way that you might, like indicator that you might need to fake less, is if you're still saying yes to things that are an absolute no. This might be like if you don't even remember that something has been put on your plate because you can't even trace back the thought of when you first said yes, and yet it's still being expected of you from other people. So what this might look like, especially with holiday season coming up, right? Whether or not you participate in the holidays, it's like this, it gets in the collective air where now it's all happening, right? There's like the magic of the holidays, absolutely. And then there's also the like forced obligatory sense of now you have to go perform and do all the things that have always been expected of you, right? So like you might have like 7 years ago volunteered to bring a certain like, I don't know, like dinner roll to a family functioning. And yet now every year for 7 years, everyone is like assuming that you're bringing that, when it's like they don't even stop to realize, and you haven't vocalized that, like, oh, you're like, let's use food allergies again. Your food allergies, or just even how you eat, whatever it is, has changed so much. So you're sitting there making something that you don't even eat, or that maybe is not like accessible for you. For example, like mac and cheese made like the really delicious way is so fucking expensive, and I can only imagine now with how much costs are going up, right? So if you're, going to a Thanksgiving and everyone's still expecting you to make mac and cheese, and you're like, that's going to be literally $200 to make for this many people, and I only have a budget for $50, like that's an area where can you ask yourself to fake less and actually say, you know what, I know usually I would make this unless people want to chip in so I can cover the cost to make it, then I am going to be making this instead, right? So like those things where you're still saying yes when it's actually a no, that's an indicator that you could be faking less. Also, if you don't remember the last time that you celebrated you, what I mean by that is if you cannot think of a time when you were like, oh shit, I did that, look at me, right? It can be these little moments. Like if I happen to like pack up the car of groceries like just the right way where like it looks aesthetically pleasing, or like shit isn't falling out when I park, and open up the what do you call it, the lift gate to the Jeep, right? That's a moment where I'm like, look at me, a little celebration, right? Because this can be an indicator that you're not able to access pauses throughout your day to actually realize like, oh, something made me feel this type of way. Or we learn to downplay our own accomplishments, or just like the investment of our time and energy that we're doing. So like, did you navigate changing a poopy diaper today with the toddler that's running away from you, or like the last 2 days when you tried to, you ended up with poop on your hand, but today you didn't? Celebrate that shit, right? Like actually asking yourself, what would it me really rejoice in or want to hype up right now? Because it can be so difficult to have those feelings and like our inner desires to be expressed when we have that full body tattoo of faking it on, because it requires us to feel the tension point between the sort of adulting on autopilot of going through the motions that we've been doing as we're faking it, to then actually be like, oh, this is how I actually want to experience this moment, right? So those are just a few examples that I thought of, right? Which means like, take them for what they are. They're just little. Did you hear that? What is happening? So we just heard all of that. was turning the light back on, and I'm recording this in the Jeep, and then the radio came on. So I'm laughing, and I'm not going to fake it, be fully transparent. I only get to record episodes, which I believe I mentioned before, in the Jeep. So, and the software that I use, which is really just the voice app on my phone, I can't edit necessarily and go back and like take chunks out. So now we're just going to hear all that. And oops, I'm sorry that was loud and aggressive. But if I stop recording here, I don't get to resume the audio. So we had that moment. I mean, take a breath, guide you through breath in case that shouted at you as well. It got dark and I couldn't see my notes. Here we are. So, whew. All right. I've taken a breath. I'm working through getting my train of thought back. Okay. So what we were going to say then is a huge shift isn't what's needed though, right? As we had that huge shift in volume in music, right? So we don't have to put the pressure on ourselves to think that we have to go from like faking it to then suddenly like, oh, I'm so transparent, I tell everyone everything. My postal person now knows when my next gynecological visit is. My grandma now knows that I put a booger under a coffee table when I was 7 and told her that it was my cousin, right? Like, it doesn't mean that everything needs aired out, right? We don't need this huge shift because that is almost like the opposite side of the same coin, as my therapist would say. But what if it's about like having these little moments where like living more is accessible, and how can those live more moments add up, right? And so again, it's this idea that there's this additive value of moments where we're being our full ass self and that our needs are being attended to, that actually is like so much more beneficial than sort of the detriment that happens with all of the shitty feeling faking moments. So the way that we can live more moments might look like asking yourself, how do I really want to take the kids to the bus stop? Do you want to be wearing your dino jammies and eating a corn dog? Oh my God, live more, do it, right? You get to decide that. Turning my page, you hear the page rustling, doom, doom, doom. Also looking at like, who do you want to spend holidays with, right? If you'd rather spend holidays with your neighbor who always remembers your birthday, instead of obligatorily spending the holiday with your parent who never remembers your birthday, live more. Make that choice for yourself, right? And if your grocery bags break and it spill out into the yard and you have this urge to pick up the loaf of bread and punt it across the driveway, do it. Live more. And then you know what? Enjoy that misshapen ass sandwich that you eat afterwards when you go back and remember a loaf of bread $6 now and you go retrieve it, right? It's really about acknowledging like when there's bits and bobs of you that want to have the room to express and live through that moment of life, right? How do you want to navigate that moment? That's when suddenly there's more access to choices and choices that you want to make. So, somewhat of a recap, right? The fake less, live more like idea, practice, philosophy really means that you are on your own priority list. It means that you'd like your relationships to be more reciprocal. It means that you are saying yes to a more humane way of humaning. All right. And so right now in this very moment, am declaring this fake less fall, right? We had Hot Girl Summer. We have all the other things. I don't remember them right now because who has the brain space for that? But right now I'm saying this is fake less fall, all right? And how we're going to do that through these live more moments. Because taking up space in your own life just creates more room for being in reciprocal and right relationships. And in that vein of this idea of how can our relationships be more reciprocal and actually be in the spirit of having this more humane way of living and life having more moments that feel accessible and enjoyable and replenishing for us, I'm so jazzed to share that the doors of the Shit Shifter Society are now open through October 8th. Of 2023, in case you're listening to this in some other time frame, right? And so if you would like to live more by learning 3 different ways to have less faking being fine moments and to prioritize being in right relationship without adding to your never-ending to-do list, Shit Shifter Society might be for you. And so with our 12 weeks together, we're going to be looking at how, as adults breaking intergenerational cycles of harm, how are we going from feeling depleted, isolated, and like shells of ourselves, right? Faking it, to feeling nourished, supported, and like our full ass selves, right? Having lived more moments. And so this particular season in 12-week cohort, we're going to be taking an honest look at our boundaries, redefining vulnerability, and exploring how being in reciprocal relationships provides moments worth celebrating. So it's Fake Less Fall, and I invite you to live more with us in the Shit Shifter Society. Bow, bow, bow. So, that being said, my mouth is really dry. I still, myself, am recovering from that loud music interruption thing. And, it was just a little startling for me. But I am so excited to be opening the doors. And in case you have questions, please reach out. The link will be in the notes. But the real thing that I just want to share from the current cohort that's finishing up, well, one, all of the members are actually rolling in and staying enrolled for the next cohort, which is just so exciting because, they're seeing that, oh, wow, there was the option to only join for 3 months. And, there's always that option of just joining for one cycle. There's also the door, once you're inside, it's like the layout of the room, so to speak, is always inviting and saying you can actually stay as long as you would like, because each cohort cycle, each time the doors open, it's matching the energy of the season. So now that we're going into fall and we're going to be spending time with the Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius energy as we finish out the year, that's going to look like very different things than what we covered in the summer of looking at going through Cancer, Leo, and Virgo. And so, just sharing that out too is that not only when you joined, you still have access to the previous content, right? Because they don't sort of block out modules that way. But what you're able to do is come in with the intention of exploring for 12 weeks. So it's like those 3 months. But also knowing that if you end up feeling like the support that you get, the community that you're in, just that way of having a more easeful way to acknowledge and yes and your needs while, understanding that these are skills that you can take out of this space to live more moments, that you can just stay. You can choose to stay for however long you would like. And so while doors are closing on October 8th, that's more so that way that we can have that more intimate cohort feeling. So you'll be able to go through those 12 weeks with a sense of community. But knowing that they're going to be opening back up December 21st. So like when the seasons are changing into Capricorn, I have to think of the C's there. Capricorn season and everything. It's like there's a way for you to opt in and opt out as you please. And I really have heard great things from the current shit shifters that it feels more accessible knowing that it's not like I have to plan, like think ahead a year. Is this something that I want, right? So we can do this in like 3 really like yummy, tasty morsels, like, right, 3 months together. And then being able to see how you're feeling and how your full ass self is showing up and whether you would continue wanting to hang out. So all those things. So now my mouth is really dry because it's been 3 minutes, but we are in the vein of not faking it, just being transparent about that. So that being said, what's coming up next. Have a razzle dazzle day. And if that's not accessible, you can put an F on front and have a frazzle dazzle day.